A refined and beautiful journaling card begins with thoughtful construction, and I'll show you how. These designs are going to work perfectly in any journal because they're timeless. Welcome. I'm Ingrid Carlson, and I'm so glad that you're here. And if Christmas is your favorite time of year as well, then you are going to love this video as we create in our ultimate Christmas journal. I'm so excited about this project because we are taking journaling cards and we are taking them up to the next level. And I'm going to do that with some index cards, which I am still in love with. I don't know if it's the blue and red lines, the nostalgia from them, but I absolutely love working with them. And on these, I believe they're from Dollar Tree, so they didn't come with anything on the back side. So I doubled them up so that I had the image on both the front and the back. I'm going to start off by adding one of the vintage words or sentiments up at the top, and this kind of emulates a tab, which I absolutely love, again from school days of having a tabbed notebook. I think that it's just so charming and one of the elements that I love to do. I'm also going to back the sentiment card on the other side because I'm going to decorate the fronts and the backs of these, and I'm going to show you how we're going to sneak some journaling in here. And my favorite part is that it's very secret. Nobody has to know. I'm going to take one of these or journaling cards that you get from the kit as my base. This is going to be kind of my showstopper or the beginning of telling my story. All the other pieces are supporting actors. They help tell that story, but the main subject is definitely the journaling card. I'm also going to pull out some of the Tim Holtz. I think these are called little people, maybe. I'm not sure, but they're the small people. And then I think my favorite part about this journaling card is that I am using one of the wax pieces. Remember those? We made those together a few videos back, and it was really great to be able to just grab it and put it onto a journal. So if you have not played with melting wax, then I definitely suggest that you do, and that you make a little bin on your desk and put all of your stamped images on there, because look at how beautiful this looks. It adds so much texture and interest to this journaling card. And really, if you look, there's not a ton of pieces that we're adding here, but it's the way that we're adding them. It's the colors that we're adding that are just telling a story. When I'm finished with this card, you're going to see that I'm allowing some negative space. So I'm allowing that index card to shine through on the project. So it's not completely hidden. And I love that. It doesn't have to be in your face where you absolutely know that it's an index card, but you see little traces of it. You see little spots where the lines peek through. And I love that. I think that it adds interest and adds that little subtle detail that subconsciously maybe your mind picks up on, that it is an index card, but until you take it in your hands and look at it thoroughly, you might not notice that at first glance. To make the cards feel like they are loved on and they've been passed down through time, I am going to sand the pieces here and there. I'm not going to do a lot of distressing, but just enough to show that they've been thoroughly loved. Another thing is sometimes when I am creating, if I only need a piece of the paper, so for example, I have this little bit of fabric that comes in one of the ephemera packs, I don't want to waste the whole thing because it does get hidden behind this journaling card. I cut just enough away so that then I have another piece that I can use on another project. And adding this plaid here just gave me enough structure, and it balanced out the boldness of the red tag above. And then it also almost allows these people to get anchored onto the page because of that strip. It really did take it to the next level, adding a darker color, but still allowing that index card to peek through. All of the papers that I'm using today are from my new Christmas kits that are going to be released tomorrow. And if you are interested in learning more about the kits, then make sure that you stay tuned to the end of this video where I show all of the kits as well as go over the pricing and any other information you might need. But as always, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments, or you can message me directly on Etsy. That way I'll get it immediately. And like that, we are done with the first part of our journaling card. Now for the second side, or the back side of the journaling card, I am going to hide our journaling. And I love that. I love that if I was showing someone my journal, they wouldn't necessarily know that I had any journaling hidden there. And so this is a great place to put all of your hopes and your dreams, your quiet moments that maybe you don't want to share with the whole world, but you want them to live inside of your journal. And so this is a great alternative to that, or a great way to do that. So I'm taking one of the envelopes and I'm mimicking the front of the journaling card by distressing it just a little bit so that it looks like it was worn and loved and passed down. And then I'm going to glue it down. I'm going to apply glue on the left, the right side, as well as the bottom, and I'm leaving the top empty. That way, this makes a little pocket. And now we're able to add our little secret notes here, and nobody would ever know. I think it's in those little pieces when you are adding some distressed edges, you are adding warmth and dimension to your story without overwhelming the design. For the bottom part, I'm just going to layer some pieces. I love layering circles with rectangles or squares. I think that they work so great together to tell a story. And then on this one, I'm actually using a label from the Vintage Autumn kit. I pulled out, if you were with me on the video where I showed you how to. Oh, actually, I'm so sorry. That was on Patreon. On Patreon, I showed how I mix kits. So when I'm ready to use a new kit and I have an old kit on my desk, how I go about doing that and storing it and organizing it. So in that video, I showed how to do that, but I'm showing here that I'm going to use one of the labels, which works really well with Christmas. And I want to make sure to use it, even if it's not in the autumn theme, that we get to use it even in Christmas. Of my wax pieces that I made the other day, one of my absolute favorite was this music paper. So I knew I wanted to add it, even though I am going to cut it down a little bit so that I don't completely cover it up. Sometimes you'll see me do that. Other times I am okay with covering the whole thing up. It really depends. And I think for me, it's whether it is a piece that I can just reprint, I'm okay with covering it up. But in this case, since it's a piece that I made previously, then I don't want to use it all up because I love the effect it has. I love the texture of it. And if it's going to get covered up, then I want to cut it so that I can use some of the pieces later. I absolutely adore this like houndstooth fabric that I have. And I believe that is in the Jingle All the Way kit. I'm not 100% sure, but if you stay tuned to the end, you can see what is in each kit. I talk about this at that time, but one of the things when I was creating these three kits was that I wanted to make sure that there was a lot of ability to layer. I wanted greenery. I wanted pieces that you could easily layer. And so I knew that I wanted to add something green here. But I think that it's a little too bright for this collage that we have going on. So instead, I'm going to end up pulling off that little bit of holly, and instead, I'm going to add a Christmas tree that I think just fits it a little bit better. And you can see there that I'm a little bit struggling with the papers moving around. So once I get the Christmas tree on there, I'm going to add a staple to it just to hold it into place because it keeps moving on me. I will remove the staple later because that's not where I want it to be, but that's something that you can do too. You could also use a large paper clip to hold it on all together if you don't want to remove the staple or if you don't want little holes. I think the holes add more vintage charm to it, so I don't mind doing that. And then again, I'm going to distress the edges just a little bit. I think that when you are distressing, there's two frame of minds, or the two ways that I look at a distress piece. I want to know whether it's going to be grungy or if I just want to give it a little charm. When I want to give it a little charm, I'm going to add less distressing, and really it is a completely different design element, and it really does show through at the end with your project. So depending on which you like better, that's how you want to add your distressing. And I want to encourage you to change it up. Sometimes add a lot of distressing, and then sometimes maybe opt for having a little bit more demure distressing. I really enjoy the pieces that I've put together to create this little collage already. And so I struggle a little bit with it because I loved the pieces so much. It almost gave me a worry of what if I don't make it as perfect as it should be? And I really don't like working like that, but that is what happened. And I wanted to keep it completely transparent. I also opted for changing that houndstooth black and white since the majority of my piece was black and white. And I think that this red plaid print just works really well. I'm also going to tear it to add a little more distressing, and then I'm going to start gluing everything down. You're going to see that I'm going to pull up the bottom of the Christmas tree to add my label because I think that when it covers up the label a little bit, it looks more intentional. It I don't know. I just really like the design on that. It doesn't look like I just stuck the label on as an afterthought. It looks like it's part of the story. And so I'm going to do that. And I want to encourage you to do that. A lot of times when I'm gluing stuff down, I don't glue it all the way down. That way it allows me to be able to move pieces around like that. I'm also going to distress the waxed paper piece just a little bit. I'm not going to glue it down, but it does have that kind of mobility now with that little fold that I added there. And I think this is such a lovely card. It looks like something that would have been tucked away into your grandma's album. It has so much nostalgia in it, and it's something that was created on top of a note card. I just love that. I bought these hat pins trying to find something that was stainless steel that I could stick inside of my art glitter glue that you see there on the right hand side. And I unfortunately didn't look at the dimensions and it is a little too thick, but I love them. And so I'm going to add one here and I'm going to tuck it into my Christmas tree. It adds a bit of that metal into the design, and I think that it just is whimsical and sweet. I made sure to tuck in though the pointy part so that when I'm flipping through my journal, I don't get poked. Also, you saw that I had my little brush and I was distressing, so I didn't add any extra distressing ink to the brush. It was just the remnants of whatever was left over from the last time that I used it, and I actually really enjoyed using it like that. It gave just enough of a vintage feel. I feel like sometimes I get a little too heavy handed with the distress stains and mud some of the stuff up. That's why you don't see me reaching for it all the time. And I think this is a great alternative where I can still distress something but not deposit so much color on the piece. I almost feel like it's cheating a little bit because I'm going to use that paper for the backside, and because it has so many different elements on it, it feels like it's already layered without me having to do a lot of work. And I think that that goes with any type of scrapbook paper or journaling paper that you get, that if you can have elements, whether you stamp it yourself or you buy something that's already stamped, it adds so much dimension without you having to add bulk to your projects. And if you're someone that tends to add a lot of bulk, Ingrid, then this might be a really good alternative to you or for you. For this journaling card, I'm going to leave it so it's not so secret. If you wanted to tuck a tiny little note underneath inside of this pocket, you could, but you could also have a piece that's sticking out. Which do you like better? Do you like it to be visible, or do you like it where it's tucked away and no one knows that you have journaling there? A lot of times when I am in the middle of a project, and so something like this where I am doing multiple pieces, I will, instead of putting the pieces back into the organizer, I will keep them on the side of my desk. And a lot of times I know that I want to use them. And that's what happened with this little bunch of holly. I knew that I wanted to involve it somewhere into these journaling cards. And I think this was the perfect place for it. The other thing I'm doing is I'm cutting into the holly so that I can nestle this label inside of it. And doing this really gives the piece more dimension. It again makes it look like it's actually holly leaves that are kind of intertwining around a post, a sign on the yard. And so I love that. And then also to add to that, I would think that a post in the yard would maybe have some kind of nails or metal element, and that's where the staples come in. And this page is probably the most simple, sweetest, and I absolutely love it. And it just goes to show that sometimes you don't need to do a lot of work to get something that is really beautiful. I was going to stop at just two, but then I got inspired while I was looking at them to do one more for you. And so I am going to take this tag and I'm going to put it on the front of the journaling cards. Now, this is a little different because I'm covering the journaling card completely in this scenario. So there's no, other than just a tad little bit on the right hand side that peeks through. For the most part, it is completely covered, but I knew that I wanted to use one of the tags. It added a little bit different element, and you would never suspect that there was a pocket in the back, and so I love that. On the front of this tag, I am going to add a lot of layering. I'm going to do a cluster with a lot of different elements and kind of go back to my roots or what I normally love doing. And I think that when you are adding, especially when you're adding elements that are vintage and old aged, it creates a sense of history. It's you're putting down on paper something that is going to live forever. And I just love that. I love that part of journaling. I love that I can take something that is new or that isn't aged and I could make it look like it's been around for a long time. It's almost like a challenge to make it look worn and tattered. Another tip that I would say for when you're working with specifically printables is to cut around them. I a lot talk about using things for reasons that they weren't made for. If you've seen my Dollar Tree videos where I've taken things that you normally wouldn't think of using in a journal and I give it kind of a new life through it, this journal or this journaling card is a testament in showing how to do that. So I'm going to actually start off with that round piece. And instead of leaving it the way that it is, or just having a little border of white around the circle, I'm actually going to go in and take the time to cut around each part of the frame. It's kind of almost intertwined like a lattice pattern. And so I think when you do that, it makes it look, number one, more realistic. And number two, it just gives it even more personality. This tag also features some of my favorite elements from the kit, which are this ribboned crest, and I absolutely adore this old chocolate cherry ad. It's so sweet and vintage and old and lovely, and it kind of makes me want some chocolate covered cherries, even though I don't think I like them. Do you like chocolate covered cherries? I think I've told this story before, but when I was in second grade, I gave my teacher some chocolate covered cherries and she loved them. And she said, would you like to try one? And I was like, no, I don't like those. Those are gross. I don't know if I said they're gross, but I definitely told her I didn't like them because when I came home and told my parents that I had told her that, I got in so much trouble. And it was that day that I learned never to do that. And so much so that my son does not like chocolate at all, like at all. It's the craziest thing. And I ate a ton of chocolate when I was pregnant with him. I don't know if it had any correlation or not, but he does not like chocolate at all, the taste. And so for a lot of birthday parties that he's been to, they have chocolate cake because everyone else loves chocolate. And he has learned to just say no thank you or to give it to someone else and not to make anyone feel bad for having something that he doesn't like. And but looking at this little vintage ad, it makes me actually cherish those chocolate covered cherries. The other thing that you saw me do here is I'm going to cut around the motif, the ribbon and the frame, but I'm going to allow a piece of the journaling card to stay put. And this allows me to have more stability when I'm tucking it in, and especially when I'm using a stapler because I can staple all of the pieces together without having to worry that that piece is going to fall out somewhere. I'm going to add just a little piece of that vintage. Is it vintage? What's something that is vintage versus antique? I don't know. I know that there's, I think, a definition for it. So if it's past a certain time, then it's one or the other, but I'm not sure which one it is. But Anyways, I've had this fabric for a very long time, and so I'm just going to add a little bit here. You see this fabric in the cover. It's both in the spine as well as that little puffy heart that I absolutely love, and I thought it was the perfect place on this tag. I kind of feel like I'm a little cheating on the backside of this one again because I'm using this beautiful, beautiful painting and I'm distressing it just a little bit. I don't want it to look grungy at all because it's not a grungy piece. It's a very classy, classic, a pristine piece. And so I'm going to use this as the base. Just like I did with the envelope, I am gluing on the 3 sides, and that is going to be my pocket. And again, you would never know that it's the pocket. We're going to decorate the front of it so that it looks like it's just a finished piece. And then you can have your hidden journaling tucked inside. And I think for me, these holidays bring out the beautiful mix of tradition and creativity. And that's exactly what makes these card making sessions so enjoyable. And what I really love most about these cards is really how simple you can make them. It's also using something that we all love to have inside of our journals. Well, I hope so, anyways, at least I do, is having some handwritten mementos inside of there. And I love that they're hidden. It just gives it another piece that's magical and whimsical and all yours. These cards really are great. They are perfect for adding into your journal. You can add them in with a paper clip, with a bulb pin, with a safety pin. You could even put a piece of ribbon on it and have it inside like a bookmark. Really, they fit perfectly into your journal. You can even glue it, or actually you can hinge it into your journal like I have shown you. You can tip it in on one side with some washi tape and then it flips forward and back, but it just stands alone beautifully and it can be the piece of your journal page without having to add anything else. And the other thing you can do is just stick one into your journal. And when you open the journal, it can slip out and add another piece of kind of fun mobility to your journal. And it's kind of like those cards. Have you ever gotten those birthday cards that when you open them, they're filled with glitter? I love that. I know there's some of you maybe type A girlies out there that would not like that, but I love that sense of fun and whimsy, and I think that tucking it into a journal gives you a little bit of that without all of the glitter mess. I want to thank you so much for being here today, for your love and support, for all of your likes, your comments, your shares, all those things. They mean the world to me, and I can never tell you how much I appreciate you and adore you. I want to remind you today just of that, of how deeply you are loved. You are special. You are kind. You are filled with joy and beauty, and it radiates through you. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and my prayer is that this holiday season is one for you to be able to create some beautiful things and to just bask in the glory that this wonderful gift is that we have been given by God. I thank you so much. Until next time, love you. Bye. And make sure that you stay tuned to the end of this video where we're going to go over the kits together. I'm so excited to share these kits with you. I absolutely love probably every single one. And I think that if you were to ask me which one was my favorite of the three, I don't think that I can pinpoint it. I might be able to pinpoint certain elements that I love about each one. But let's get started and look at them. I'm so excited. So this is our first kit, which is called Jingle All the Way. It is full of rich, beautiful colors of brass elements, just very traditional and classic and elegant. And I'm so excited about this one. It's definitely one of my favorites. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to show you the papers as well as I love this one. This is very like 90s vintage with the patchwork plaids all over. This is just such a really pretty kit. And I said that the kits don't necessarily coordinate with one another, but they all go together, which is so awesome. The colors are all deep reds and greens, a little bit of yellow, a lot of brass elements, which I'm really excited for this year. These are so pretty. And then so most of those were all plaids, and then these two are diagonal stripes, and it's got a tan background with this like kind of yellow ochre or like gold stripe with a red stripe and then grunge. And this is the only grunge that you're going to get in this kit. The rest of the kit is very kind of just very clean. And this is the same with the same type of like a tan background. And then it's got a dark navy blue stripe with a gold stripe. And then the grunge is more of like a kind of a rusty metallic color. We're going to start going over the ephemera, which is probably my favorite. No, I love the papers too, but the ephemera here is just very classic. I mean, this just screams country club to me. It screams like Vermont, even though I've never been. But that's how I feel at like White Christmas, the Inn. I feel like these just like fall into place there, and they're so pretty. I talked about this when I was doing the build your kit, I think, or maybe, yeah, when I did that video, and I'll have that linked down in the description below. And that kit, or you'll be able to see the kit more accurately with the actual papers if you want to take a look. And then also I'll link where I did a 4-hour fussy cut of all of the images. And on that one, you can see each individual piece of the ephemera. But when I was building all three of these kits, my main thing in mind was that I wanted to have a lot of elements that stacked well and that you could really just layer really well. So I wanted pieces that could poke out and that could just peek out through. They could be the star, or they can be a supporting cast member. I wanted a lot of movement and a lot of versatility in these kits, and I think we got it. There's some really pretty vintage images. This is one of my favorites. It's from a library book. I love the bows and the railway tickets. They're so sweet. And then you have more of the metallic embellishments with also some leather thrown in. And it just, even though it's not real metal, it gives the feel of metal. And I've talked about this a lot, where when you combine different textures, it just gives more interest to your journals. And it's the same here with the velvet bows. And then this one is just so sweet and kind of whimsical. And that is some felt vintage ornaments, some sleigh bells, these little clay pieces. And I love these little lanterns. These are really wonderful for layering. And then some more traditional images here. And I love this. It says, "Kiss me under the mistletoe." Some more plaids. I love these little Merry Christmases. They're like the little beads or bracelets that you can make. And then on this kit, I added some envelopes, and you get 2 pages of the envelopes, and they're the exact same envelopes, just different colorways. And then, of course, I shrunk everything so you get the minis. So these are really great. I love the miniatures. That was the only thing I didn't cut out in my ASMR video because it would have taken me way too long and my hands were already cramped as it was. But that is the Jingle All the Way kit, and I hope that you absolutely love it. Now let's get on to the next kit. The next kit is called Tinsel Parade, and this kit is whimsical and fun and a little bit brighter colors, a little bit more grunginess, a little kind of pushing the boundaries. But what's really wonderful about it is that it goes really well with the traditional kits. And so you can include the whimsy with the traditional. This one has a lot of my hand-drawn elements, which I love including in the kits, and I hope that you guys love. And also, it has this green page of Christmas labels. I also have in the last kit that I'll show you, I have these same labels, but they're in red. And when I was doing the Build With Me kit, if you watch that video, I showed that this kit kind of veered to the greens and the other one went to the reds more, and so that's how I decided. On this one you get both the green and the red. More, those are little words so you can see the difference in the sizing, and you could see those here. So I've got, and this one I cut accidentally, but you can see the difference in the sizing. They're both really great. These are just single words, whereas the other one is sentiments, but I love both. I think one of the best things about this kit is the vintage toys. They are so sweet. It just makes you want to jump in to your journal and play with them. I also shrunk them down for miniatures, but like how cute that is with the glitter all around. I really can't pick a favorite kit, and you can kind of see why. They are just very different, but like I said, when I cut them all out, I put them all together because they really do go hand in hand with one another. On this one, the other thing that I added that I've never done before are these sequins, and they're so sweet. When I cut them out for the fussy cutting, I actually left them in chunks. And then I'll cut them out as I need them, but I thought I'd probably lose them if I cut them out. But they're so realistic looking, and they're going to add a pop of dimension to your journals without having to add all of the extra bulk. I wanted to include some tags with this one. I've been just thinking about tags lately, and as you saw in this video, I did end up using this tag, which I absolutely love. Another element that is just so dear and just nostalgic are these confectioners little labels that I don't know. It makes me want peppermint sticks. Here are these, and I think this one's my favorite, the chocolate covered cherries or the candy canes. It's kind of slit. And on this one, you have the tiny little miniatures included. These are some of my hand-drawn elements. I love these bows with the fringe on the edge. And then these are my favorite. I did something similar to this using kind of this like watch band for another kit, and so I wanted to bring it back and make them in gold. More of my kits. I love these retro cassette players, and I think they're so cute. I can't wait to use them. And then these, which are kind of like little peppermint sticks in their own right, and they're really great for layering. All these pieces are, and of course, the birds. This is another set that this one is going to be very similar to another one that I have in the last kit. And so I broke them up. I think this one goes really well with this kit, but again, you can use it in all different ways. And these could be used as journaling cards by themselves or for layering. As far as the colors, so this is a new paper that I created. This was not part of the original design, but I wanted something that was a little lighter to give contrast, so I added that. I usually do that. I also added this red. It's just red with this like kind of tan color writing and grungy distressing, and then I also, I believe, added this one, which is the green garland with red bows. These are like kind of in the color vermilion. Um, this one you would have seen already, but this kit is definitely more grungy than the last kit that we looked at, but it's not grungy to the point where it's like completely grungy. It still is very sweet and whimsical and just lovely to pair together. I love the use of roses in Christmas stuff. It's maybe not something that you would think about automatically to pair with Christmas. Maybe it is. But for me, it is. And I love layering the two together. This is like very Grinch style. It's Screaming Grinch to me. Cindy Lou Who. I absolutely love it. This is probably one of my favorite papers that I've ever created, and I could definitely see doing this one again in a different color scheme, in blues or even purples. I think it would be so pretty. Here is another green paper that is just so wonderful for layering, and another kind of Grinchy style one, and another. I love stripes. Stripes are definitely for me a neutral. You can pair any colors with stripes. I think that everything kind of works with a stripe. This is just a very beautiful lime green pattern, and it matches that first one, except that one was in like pastel pinks. And then here it is with some more red added to it. And it's kind of, I believe this is vintage wallpaper, if I'm not mistaken. And then I've distressed it some more and added some more colors. And I think that it still gives that look of the vintage walls, but in a more modern feel. And that is the last background paper in Tinsel Parade, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on it. My last kit is kind of a mix between the two kits, and this one is called Hearth and Holly, and it's got a little grunge, a little traditional, and it's all fabulous. I absolutely adore this one. Again, it has a lot of layering pieces. This one is definitely more of your traditional vintage Christmas. It has a lot of like Victorian images, and one of my favorite elements from this kit are these wolves, and I absolutely adore them. It's got some vintage photos as well as a painting, and then labels, which are always in demand when I'm creating. So here you go. You have your wolves. I love using circles in my creating. I think it breaks up the monotony of having a lot of squares or rectangles, and they're really great layering pieces. Again, I've shrunk all of the images down to miniatures so that you can use them small. You don't have to do it yourself. I already have it done. More circles. These are all vintage images that are just really pretty in your reds and greens with your lime green and your black, and it just, they play so well together. I also included in this one some tan labels with, it's numbered from 1 to 31 so that you could use them for like if you were doing a December daily from day 1, day 2, or you could just use them as numbers. I've used them as both, and I think they work really great either way. Also some hand-drawn elements here, which I love. I love these airmail little, I think it's like the tape that's put on the outside of a package. And I was actually just watching an old movie the other day, and I think I was watching Gidget, and the dad was opening up a envelope, and the envelope had the red and blue like little lines all around the perimeter, and I was like, that is just so wonderful, lovely. And I think that that's one of the elements that I love always incorporating to anything vintage. It just screams vintage. I also love the papers here. They're already wrinkled up and distressed without having to add a bunch of bulk. Then here, I think my favorite pieces here are these motifs because they layer so wonderfully. And I think, did I end up using one of those? Oh, I didn't use them. I think I pulled it out to use, but I did not use it for those. But these are really, really great. You can see it here. Oops. Such a beautiful piece. I love the ornate details, and you can cut this out as a rectangle or you can fussy cut around the edges like I did here, and either way it's so pretty and it's so wonderful for layering because you could see it peeking through, and you could cut these in half and just use half of it, or you can use the whole thing. Again, here are some more Victorian images that you have here. These like sweet little images with these kids in their nightgowns, and the brother and the sister are there, and she's holding her little doll. And then these wreaths, these ladies at the table, maybe they were having a Galentine's celebration. I don't know, but it was. I don't think that was wartime. I was gonna say maybe they're I don't know. I don't know. This one, which is more like the Art Nouveau style, and then this one, which is so beautiful. It's very the artwork is just, it's just beautiful. It's immaculate. And I did do something with this one where, yes. So here I did use this one, and I love that this almost looks like it's a magnifying glass looking at these people. And I think that you could really do that with any couples and kind of start telling a story of each one. And this key is from the Jingle All the Way kit. Yes. I also wanted to add some tags on this one, and I love this one. It's a piece of the paper, I think from the Tinsel Parade kit, or is it from this one? And they're getting all jumbled up. Actually, I think yes, it's the paper from this one, and I love it. I can't wait to show it to you. You're going to love the background papers. Here again, remember I was showing you the other ones that were similar to this, which think this one, so this one's, yeah, this one right here from this kit, and they're so great. They make a really great focal point or the companion for layering. Again, shrunk them down into miniatures. The labels, it's all about the labels. The labels are so great for layering. They are a staple piece in every, if not every single spread that I make, definitely every single journal. Again, here are the words that are in the red, and this is one of my favorite pages of the Ephemera kit. Just so pretty, just so pretty. These are hand drawn by me, and some vintage ephemera pieces, and she's just so ethereal and beautiful. And again, another page of I love anything 1919. I seem to find a lot of stuff with that date. Does anyone know if does it have a significance? I never thought about it until just this moment. Some vintage photos, some vintage images, another beautiful portrait. And again, it's shrunk for you here, and more images, which are really great to have if you like photographs and using photographs in your journals. I do. I love using them. I also absolutely am obsessed with music paper. So I added some more music paper. And then I actually took the numbers, and I shrunk them down and I gave them in the red and the green in the small section. And then here are my roses. Again, this paper, it's very similar to the other one, except this one's all red. The other one had green in it. And this paper is probably one of my favorites that I've ever done. I love how the paper disappears. They kind of meld together. And then you have the roses that just tie everything together. And I I just love this so much. This one is very similar, except this one is a more subdued color theme and it's more calming. I still love it. Even though it is grungy, it still has a calming effect. And I did the same thing, except with this one, I left the color out of the roses. So you can see here the difference. And these are just like gray. And I love having that because it almost converts this into a black and white that you can really use with any kit, not just Christmas. This is some book page. And so I made it into, and it's actually the book. I don't remember if it's a cover or the inside cover. I can't think of what that's called right now, but I made it into two so that when you fold it, you can have a front and a back, because I think that this would make a beautiful journal cover. And front cover and back cover. I think that these are really beautiful. I love all of the edges that you get there with the little worn pieces and the deckling and the foxing. And so this one is absolutely gorgeous. Then again, this one's similar to the others, but a little different color scheme, a little different background papers. This one layers absolutely beautifully. I think I've already used it several times. And then this is the same one, but in red. And then you guys saw this one in green that was in the Tinsel Parade kit. And then here is the green and red. Did I double do those? I'll have to go look back, but if I did, you might get it in both. Because I've already uploaded it. This one, also one of my favorite papers. You saw that I used it here. It looks like worn tape across the top of it. I think that's this piece right here that I cut off. And it just is so great for layering because it already has so many layers, but they're all flat. And so it gives you all of the look of an extra layered piece without having to add any bulk. And then I did the same with the red diamond. So here's the green. You can see there the red. And then this is where I added these two. These were not originally in the idea of this kit, but again, so you could fold them and one could be the front cover, one could be the back cover, and then I did this one as well. And on this one, I know that I took it from the other kit, but I thought it just worked really well, and so you can use it again to create a journal. It's a great front cover, back cover, or if you just want to use it, you can cut it apart and use it, or you can use it as one page too. I think that that's really pretty. So as far as the kits go, and I just want to explain the pricing really quick so that it is very easy to understand, but the base price of the kit is $12, but I do have, or each kit is $12. I have them and this is usually with all of my kits, they are on sale for the first 2 weeks, usually for a certain percentage off the price. So they're going to be 25% off the original price, and they'll be $9 per kit. But if you want to buy all 3 kits in one because you love all 3, then you can do a bundle deal, and it's $25 for the 3 kits, and you can see how much you get in each of these kits. I think the minimum is 12 pages, whether it's the ephemera or the backgrounds. And also, I wanted to add here that if you are a Patreon member, then as a Patreon member, you get a discount code so that you can get my kits at the price, that the introductory price that they're released at. So you will always be able to get either any of these kits for $9. So just in case, if you had any questions, or if there was, any confusion with the pricing, I'm doing it a little different this year because I've never released 3 kits all at once. And I've been researching, trying to figure out how to do it. And I think that that would be the best way, is to go ahead and do a bundle for those of you that are like me and love all of the kits and the ephemera and stuff. And so I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about these kits. I hope that you love them. I hope that they warm your heart, that they inspire you to create something, and that you join me in creating. I have so many ideas. I know that for sure I want to do a Ralph Lauren inspired journal using the Jingle All the Way kit. I think that it blends really well for that, and actually maybe even including some of the other kits with it. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And until next time, love you. Bye.